The Feast of the Heroes. Besides the glory of such distinction and the enjoyment of Odin's beloved presence day after day, other more material pleasures awaited the warriors in Valhalla. Generous entertainment was provided for them at the long tables, where the beautiful white-armed virgins, the Valkyrs, having laid aside their armor and clad themselves in pure white robes, waited upon them with ostentatious attention. These maidens, 9 in number according to some authorities, brought the heroes great horns full of delicious mead, and set before them huge portions of boar's flesh, upon which they feasted heartily. The usual northern drink was beer or ale, but our ancestors fancied this beverage too coarse for the heavenly sphere. They therefore imagined that Valfather kept his table liberally supplied with mead or hydromel, which was daily furnished in great abundance by his she-goat Hydron, who continually browsed on the tender leaves and twigs on Lerad, Yggdrasil's topmost branch. Rash war and perilous battle their delight, and immature and red with glorious wounds. Unpeaceful death their choice, deriving thence a right to feast and drain immortal bowls. In Odin's hall, whose blazing roof resounds, the genial uproar of those shades who fall, in desperate fight or by some brave attempt. Liberty, by James Thompson. The meat upon which the Ehrenhar feasted was the flesh of the divine boar Serimnir, a marvelous beast, daily slain by the cook Andhrimnir, and boiled in the great cauldron Eldhrimnir. But although Odin's guests had true northern appetites and gorged themselves to the full, there was always plenty of meat for all. Andhrimnir cooks in Eldhrimnir, Sehrimnir 'tis the best of flesh, but few know what the Einhirjas eat. Lay of Grimnir, Anderson's version. Moreover, the supply was exhaustless, for the boar always came to life again before the time of the next meal. This miraculous renewal of supplies in the larder was not the only wonderful occurrence in Valhalla, for it is related that the warriors, after having eaten and drunk to satiety, always called for their weapons, armed themselves, and rode out into the great courtyard, where they fought against one another, repeating the feats of arms for which they were famed on earth, and recklessly dealing terrible wounds, which, however, were miraculously and completely healed as soon as the dinner horn sounded. All the chosen guests of Odin daily ply the trade of war. From the fields of festal fight swift they ride in gleaming arms, and gaily at the board of gods quaff the cup of sparkling ale, and eat Sarimni's vaunted flesh. Vafthrudinnismal, W. Taylor's translation. Whole and happy at the sound of the horn, and bearing one another no grudge for cruel thrusts given and received, the Ehrenhar would ride gaily back to Valhalla to renew their feasts in Odin's beloved presence, while the white-armed Valkyrs, with flying hair, glided gracefully about, constantly filling their horns, or their favorite drinking vessels, the skulls of their enemies, while the skalds sang of war and of stirring Viking forays. And all day long they there are hacked and hewn, mid dust and groans and limbs lopped off and blood, but all at night return to Odin's hall, woundless and fresh, such law is theirs in heaven. Balder Dead, by Matthew Arnold. Fighting and feasting thus, the heroes were said to spend their days in perfect bliss, while Odin delighted in their strength and number, which, however, he foresaw would not avail to prevent his downfall when the day of the last battle should dawn. As such pleasures were the highest at a northern warrior's fancy could paint, it was very natural that all fighting men should love Odin, and early in life should dedicate themselves to his service. They vowed to die arms in hand if possible, and even wounded themselves with their own spears when death drew near, if they had been unfortunate enough to escape death on the battlefield and were threatened with straw death, as they called decease from old age or sickness. To Odin then true fast, carves he fair runics, death runes cut deep on his arm and his breast. Viking Tales of the North, R.B. Anderson. In reward for this devotion, Odin watched with special care over his favorites, giving them gifts, a magic sword, a spear, or a horse, and making them invincible until their last hour had come, when he himself appeared to claim or destroy the gift he had bestowed, and the Valkyrs bore the heroes to Valhalla. He gave to Hermund a helm and a corslet, and from him Sigmund a sword received. Lay of Hyndla, Thrope's translation. So that was The Feast of the Heroes, the fourth section of Chapter 2 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, Odin. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.